All right, so this is lesson 9.3, which is calculating arc length based on a central angle. Okay, so really quickly before we go into actually doing the math, let's talk about the vocabulary. So we have an arc measure, which is the degree measurement. So an example of that is the measure of RS is 60 degrees, which means that its central angle is also 60 degrees. Remember that a central angle and its intercepted arc are the same measure. So measure always refers to degrees. Arc length, however, is a little bit different. Anytime we talk about length, we're actually talking about a distance. So the length, the distance from one point to the other. So the length of RS is 7 centimeters, which means if you were to walk from here to here along the circle, it would be 7 centimeters. So what is the main difference between arc measure and arc length? Length is a distance, and measure refers to a degree, which references the actual measure of the central angle. Okay? So with that being said, what we're actually going to be calculating today is the arc length. So the actual distance from here to here. We're going to be solving for that. And the way that we'll be solving that is using proportions. So let's do this one first, and then we'll move into some more examples. So what is the length of arc CD? So we're actually solving for the distance from D to C. That's X. It's actually a distance. So you see it's centimeters. We know that the answer is going to be some sort of centimeters. Now the way that we're going to do that is we're going to use a proportion, where the part divided by the whole thing is equal to the part divided by the whole thing. So what do I mean by that? We know that the whole measure of all the central angles will always be 360. And we know this part is 120 degrees. So we know 120 divided by 360. This proportion of degrees will be equal to the proportion. This will be the same proportion of the entire circumference. So x divided by the circumference. Because remember, this is just part of the entire circumference, and it will be the same portion as the central angle of the entire degrees. So really quickly, we want to reduce this. 120 divided by 360. I'll go to the side and do a little bit of scratch work. 120 divided by 360. You can reduce it by 10. You're left with 12 divided by 36. And remember that 36 is 12 times 3. This is 12 times 1. So this reduces to 1/3. We want to try and reduce so we're dealing with smaller numbers. And that's equal to x divided by the circumference. Another piece of scratch work. We need to find the circumference, which we can do. It's 2 pi times the radius, which is 5. So that's 10 pi. My circumference is 10 pi. Now that we have our proportion, we will cross multiply. 3x equals 10 pi. To solve for x, we'll divide both sides by 3, and x equals 10 pi divided by 3 centimeters. Or we can write that as 10/3 pi centimeters. We'll do this again. Let me zoom in. All right, so number 2. We want to find the approximate length of AB. Remember that approximate means that we're going to multiply it by 3 at the end, right? Because we don't want the pi in it. Length of AB. So we want AB, which is x. We're doing centimeters again. That's what we're solving for. Okay, and what we know is this whole thing is 270, but we need the angle measurement of this one. That will be 360 minus 270. So that is, oh, sorry, 0. This will be 16 minus 7, which is 9, and that's 0. So this will be 90 degrees, which means the arc measure is also 90 degrees. Now we set up our proportion. We know this proportion, 90 out of 360, that's proportion of the degrees, is going to be equal to the proportion of the arc length divided by its circumference. Reduce this. 9 divided by 36, that's 3 times 3. This is 3 times 12. And 12 is 3 times 4. So this is 1/4 equals x divided by circumference, 2 pi times the radius, which is 4. So that's 8 pi. That goes in for the circumference, is 8 pi. Then we cross multiply. 4x equals 8 pi. Divide by 4. X equals 8 divided by 4 is 2 pi. But remember, we want the approximate, so we're going to multiply 2 by 3. So the length of arc AB is approximately 2 times 3. It's approximately 6 centimeters. Okay. Let's do another one. So, given the area of the circle is 36 pi. We need to find the length of GH. So we're solving for the length of this. This is x. Okay, so let's set up our proportion. We know that the arc measure is 20 out of 360, and that's equal to x divided by the circumference. It's part of the entire circumference. Now, we need to find the circumference, 2 pi times the radius. Do we know the radius right now? We don't. So what we need to do is we need to use the area to find the radius. So we know that area equals pi r squared. 36 pi is the area. Divide both sides by pi. 36 equals r squared. Square root both sides. 6 equals r. So we actually know the radius is 6. So that the circumference is 12 pi. Substitute 12 pi in for C. Reduce. 2 divided by 36 is 2 times, what is that? 36 divided by 2, 8, 1/18. Cross multiply. 18x equals 12 pi. Divide both sides by 18. X equals 12 pi divided by 18. We need to reduce this. 12/18. 12 is 2 times 6, which is 2 times 3. 18 is 2 times 9, which is 3 times 3. We're left with 2/3. So 2/3 pi centimeters. GH equals 2/3 pi. Problem took a while. Make sure you rewind if you need to. These problems are difficult. Let's do one more. Given the length of TU is 4 pi. So we know this is 4 pi. Find the radius. We're solving for r. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's set up our proportion. So we know 120 out of 360 is in the same proportion as the part, which is 4 pi, divided by the circumference. All right, let's reduce. 12 divided by 36, that comes down to 1/3, equals 4 pi divided by c. Cross multiply. C equals 12 pi. Is that what we're solving for? No. We need the radius. But we know the circumference is equal to 2 pi r. We know the circumference is 12 pi, so we'll substitute 12 pi in for the circumference and solve for r. Divide both sides by 2 and pi. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So the radius is 6 centimeters. Again, if you need to, go back and review or rewatch the work that I just did.